This is a message for the British government. This is a message for the British media. This is a message for the ignorant UK citizens out there in regards to disabilities and the fact that we are treated as second-class citizens because we are ill. Ill to the point that we cannot work, yet that is our fault, apparently. We are treated as criminals. We are treated as people that are refusing to work. It's not refusing to work, it's not being able to work. There is a difference. Disability is not a life choice. It's not something you choose to be. We are either born with it or develop it. Disability is the one minority group that any person can become a part of at any point in time. An accident, a health condition. You could join us and then you'd be stuck like we are. Maybe if more people listened and educated themselves, life might get a little bit better for people. I'm going to offer some advice, free of charge, no cost whatsoever. I need you to listen, I need you to understand, because we are not a burden. Start in the words of Alex Brooker from The Last Leg. Shit doesn't grow back. If limbs have been taken off for medical reasons, from an accident, that stuff doesn't grow back. There isn't a cure for that. You just have to deal, and that life is more expensive. Things that you don't have to consider being a healthy person. The majority of disabilities are degenerative. They will get worse over time. The majority of them don't have cures. All they have is medication to manage the conditions. And some of those medications have some very serious side effects. And you have no choice but to take those medications, because if you don't, you are literally worse health-wise. Employment isn't designed for disabled people. And sadly, the lack of knowledge around disabilities is a massive factor. The training that's involved for people that work in employment and manage people with disabilities is disgraceful. An hour-long training session is neither here nor there. It doesn't help. They don't understand. And you are seen as a second-class employee because you cost them money. Who wants to employ somebody that is going to be off sick on a regular basis? And regardless of working from home, that doesn't change the fact that your conditions have really bad days, that you will pick up illnesses, that you're going to have a flare-up of your condition, so you're not going to be able to work. You have chronic fatigue syndrome, so when you have a flare, you can't get out of bed. You're expecting disabled people to work from bed when they're absolutely knackered, and that will be detrimental to their health. The work from home, it helps, it does, if employers will do it. And that's the second point in regards to the work. The reasonable adjustment process is not fit for purpose, I'm afraid. And the reasonable adjustment passport that you're bringing in as a magic wand will not change a thing. So we break it down for you. Reasonable adjustments that are put in place and tend to be on the back of occupational health reports by specialists. And they tell your employer that you will probably come under the Equality Act. They won't say for definite. And that you need certain adjustments to be able to continue to work. And those employers then turn around and use ridiculous excuses like, oh, it wouldn't be fair on other people in the office. If we did that for you, then we'd have to do it for everybody else. Or we can't give you a set shift pattern because that's favouritism because of your disability. They do not understand the Equality Act. They do not understand the rights that we have. And the majority of disabled people also don't know the rights that they have in regards to the law. Employers can just turn around and say anything is not reasonable, and people just accept it as fact because you have to ask for it. But they say, no, where do you stand? And a lot of people don't know the laws, so they don't know that they can actually enforce that. And if they don't, it is discrimination. And they can take them to tribunal and get money from the company for that direct discrimination. The reasonable adjustment process doesn't work. It needs to change. I will offer my personal advice in regards to it, and that would be reasonable adjustments need to go through an application process that is on a system somewhere for the government. Anywhere. It's an application that the employee and the employer need to be involved in together. It is submitted by the employee. The employer then gets it. They approve them and put them in motion, or they deny them, reject them, and give the reasons for that. Now, there has to be valid set reasons written to what is allowed to be denied, because employers use terminology and wording to try and validate things that are not valid, and people don't know the law. The system needs to inform the employer of reasonable adjustment laws and the Equality Act and say, look, you can't deny this because it's not fair on other people, because that's not what they're for. They are for disabled people who need that additional to be able to stay in employment. Help them be a better employee. You denying that is direct discrimination because you're putting them at a disadvantage, but employers don't realise this and they deny them for the most ridiculous reasons. Disabled people don't know their rights and they are stuck in an employment situation where they are not supported, where an employer isn't aware of laws and regulations, and it's not a win for anybody because they end up getting sacked for having time off sick, which is against the law when you have a disability. But people don't realise that because they don't know the laws around the Equality Act. There is not enough education around this. It all needs to be on one application process nationwide for everybody to use, and the employee, like the deposit scheme for rentals and stuff, in a big section where you can appeal against it. So it would be like an online version of Tribunal, basically. You go, you apply, you list out or put up the occupational health report and list the specific recommendations and what you want to apply for. The employee then gets it, they have to approve them, sign them off, and then start putting them in place in a set period of time. And that limited time, if it's physical adjustments, that needs to be paid leave for the disabled person, because until they're put in place, it's putting that employee at a disadvantage. Again, employers don't realise that. After that point, if they decide, oh well, we're not going to implement that reasonable adjustment because that's not reasonable, they have to give a reason to reject that, and that then gets issued back to the employee. But a copy also goes to an external person, be someone that is qualified in the law, someone that is part of the tribunal service, a new job role for somebody. There you go, more jobs. Employ people that are qualified to look over them and look over the reasons. Now, if an employer is denying a reasonable adjustment that is reasonable, and the reason that they've given that is not valid in the law, they get fined and it gets sent back to them and they have to approve it. If they refuse to approve it and come back time and time again, it automatically goes to tribunal service, because that is discrimination, and it takes the onus off the disabled people that don't understand the law and what it's there to protect.